Caitlin Clark's emergence should have been a triumphant moment for the WNBA, a generational talent igniting sold-out arenas, sponsorship booms, and a surge of national attention. But instead of rallying around her, the league seems to have tried to contain her. Inconsistent calls, physical suppression, and officiating directives have come to light, suggesting efforts to manage her impact on court.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Referees now say they were told to balance outcomes and avoid blowouts, directives allegedly tied to maintaining the league's image. And the WNBA's silence, in the face of these growing claims, has only fueled suspicions. This isn't a simple controversy. It's a crisis of credibility. The league's refusal to publicly confront the accusations has left fans questioning its values and players second-guessing their place in it. With federal scrutiny looming and corporate sponsors watching closely, the league is approaching a point of no return. Whether it leans into reform or clings to image control could define the future of the sport and its legacy. Federal agents, whistleblowing referees, a commissioner under fire. What started as whispers around WNBA officiating has exploded into a full-on credibility crisis, one that could redefine the league's future. The heart of the scandal? A series of testimonies from multiple referees, reportedly under oath, revealing that they were instructed to manage game optics, not officiate fairly, not uphold the rules, but shape the perception of competition. The stated goal? Avoid blowouts, keep things balanced, protect the league's image at all costs, even if it meant compromising the fairness of the sport. This wasn't just sloppy officiating or human error. These were calculated instructions, allegedly coming from inside the league itself. And the impact? Real games, real outcomes, potentially manipulated to serve a narrative. And at the center of it all is WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Engelbert came into the league with a reputation for business acumen and corporate branding expertise. Under her leadership, the WNBA has grown its visibility and inked major partnerships. But now, that same branding-first mindset is under intense scrutiny. According to leaked internal reports and referee statements, this obsession with image may have fueled a directive to skew officiating in order to maintain the appearance of parity. Caitlin Clark, and the timing of these alleged efforts is no coincidence. It all traces back to one name, Caitlin Clark. Clark has been nothing short of a phenomenon. Her arrival brought with it packed stadiums, unprecedented viewership, and a flood of new fans. Her impact on the WNBA has been immediate and undeniable. She's transformed the league's visibility, and, paradoxically, that's exactly why the league allegedly moved to contain her. Referees say they were guided to keep games from becoming too one-sided. That means fewer calls in favor of dominant players, fewer fouls called against opponents playing physically against stars like Clark. And the result? A season full of questionable non-calls, missed fouls, and inconsistent officiating, all seemingly designed to hold back one of the league's brightest talents. Clark hasn't spoken out publicly. She's let her game do the talking, and fans have taken notice. Despite the physical play, the double teams, and the missing whistles, she continues to perform at the highest level. But even her resilience can't hide what's happening around her. Because when a player is repeatedly on the receiving end of hard fouls without protection from the refs, people start asking questions. And now, thanks to these referee testimonies, those questions have answers. The alleged manipulation was never about one player. It was about control. Control of the narrative. Control of the league's reputation. Control of how competition looks to new fans and sponsors. The leadership reportedly feared that Clark's dominance could upset the balance, draw too much attention to one player, and make the rest of the league look weak by comparison. So instead of celebrating her impact, they allegedly tried to water it down. But the damage from that decision is only just beginning. The league's silence has only deepened the suspicion. No press conference, no public denial, just vague statements and internal investigations, which have now reportedly expanded under federal scrutiny. Referees are being questioned again, and major sponsors? They're watching closely. The parallels to past sports scandals are impossible to ignore. The NBA's Tim Donaghy betting scandal showed how fragile public trust in officiating can be. Once people believe outcomes are being manipulated, the sport itself becomes meaningless. And right now, the WNBA is walking that same dangerous line. What makes the situation worse is the growing divide between league leadership and its players. Angel Reese and Asa Wilson have been among the most vocal, hinting at deeper frustrations with how the league is being run. They've alluded to systemic issues and image-first decision-making that places branding over fairness. Their cryptic posts and interviews suggest that this manipulation wasn't a secret. It was a quiet tension simmering just beneath the surface. Now it's out in the open, and fans aren't staying quiet either. Social media is flooded with clips, breakdowns, and commentary questioning officiating decisions and league motives. Commentators like Stephen A. Smith have spoken out publicly, criticizing the league's leadership and demanding accountability. The pressure is mounting, and the WNBA's refusal to engage with it only makes the situation worse. Sad, this could have been a historic season for all the right reasons. Instead, it's being remembered for all the wrong ones. The WNBA had a moment, an undeniable wave of momentum brought on by Clark's arrival. Ratings were climbing. Ticket sales were booming. New audiences were tuning in. But rather than riding that wave, league officials reportedly panicked. They chose perception over authenticity. They tried to script the narrative instead of trusting the competition to speak for itself. And now, the integrity of the entire season is in question. The legal consequences of this are real. If it's proven that officials were directed to skew calls for narrative purposes, that crosses into the realm of sports manipulation, a violation with potential federal implications. This isn't just a PR crisis. It could become a legal one. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to play. She doesn't need to respond. Her stats do the talking. Her poise under pressure, even while taking hits with no calls, has only elevated her in the eyes of fans. She's become more than a rookie sensation. She's a symbol of what happens when talent meets systemic resistance and still wins. Her continued success highlights the absurdity of the league's alleged strategy. Because even with the odds tilted against her, she's become a unifying figure for fans. People aren't just watching her, they're rooting for her. And through that, the spotlight is now shining on everything the league wanted to keep in the dark. This entire situation has exposed something bigger than just missed calls. It's revealed the cracks in the league's foundation, the tension between image management and competitive integrity. The players feel it. The referees testified to it. The fans can see it. The question now is, what happens next? Does Cathy Engelbert step down? Will officials be fired? Will sponsors demand leadership changes? Will the league finally address the scandal head-on? Because the longer the silence lasts, the louder the outrage grows. And when even federal agents are reportedly involved, you don't get to just wait it out. This is a turning point. Either the WNBA embraces transparency, issues public accountability, and reforms how it operates, or it risks losing the very trust it worked so hard to earn. There's no marketing strategy that can undo what's already been revealed. No branding partnership that can restore faith if fans believe the games are rigged. You don't fix credibility with silence. You fix it with truth, with change, with leadership. Caitlin Clark, and right now, leadership is exactly what's missing. If you're following the story and want to keep up with how it unfolds, because yes, more is definitely coming, don't forget to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. This scandal is far from over, and you're going to want to be here for every twist. Let's be honest, at this point, the WNBA isn't just dealing with a controversy. It's facing a full-blown reckoning, and the clock is ticking. Everything the league built over the past few years, every sponsorship deal, every social media boost, every carefully crafted marketing campaign, is now hanging in the balance because of one brutal truth. Fans believe the league might have been faking it. Not the players, not the passion, but the outcomes, the calls, the fairness of the competition itself. That's the kind of betrayal fans don't forget. And the frustrating part? It didn't have to be this way. Caitlin Clark wasn't a threat to the league. She was the moment. A record-setting rookie with game-changing range and superstar charisma. The kind of player leagues dream about. The kind that doesn't just fill seats. She shifts culture. She was the spark that could have lit the WNBA's biggest fire yet. But instead of building around her momentum, the league allegedly saw her dominance as a liability. And in trying to suppress that dominance, to make sure no one got too far ahead, they exposed something way uglier, a fear of imbalance that led to something dangerously close to manufacturer parity. Let's call it what it is. If referees were told to officiate with optics in mind, to hold back calls that might tip the game too far in one direction, that's not just bad policy. That's performance. That's pageantry disguised as sport. And when that performance includes selectively swallowing the whistle against one player, especially the one carrying the league's growth, you don't just lose credibility. You invite investigation, which is exactly where this is now headed. Referees have reportedly been pulled back in for follow-up interviews. The league's internal investigation has expanded, and federal agents are reportedly now involved. That's not media noise. That's a red alert signal that what's happening here may be more than just an ethical failure. It could be a legal one. Manipulating officiating decisions? That's not just a PR blunder. That's tampering with outcomes. And depending on how deep it goes, it may even fall under laws governing sports manipulation and competitive integrity, laws that exist specifically to prevent exactly this kind of scandal. It's a nightmare scenario for a league that finally had the world watching. And the silence? That might be the most damning part of all. Because as the evidence piles up, as referees speak out, as fans demand answers, and as analysts rip into the league's leadership, Cathy Engelbert and the WNBA front office have offered next to nothing. No statement of accountability. No clear denial. No apology. Just a void. A carefully maintained corporate silence. As if staying quiet will somehow make this go away. But here's what they don't seem to get. It won't. This isn't a story that disappears. Not when you have players like Angel Ree and Ozza Wilson publicly implying that they knew something was off. Not when you have Caitlin Clark getting body check game after game with zero protection from the whistle. Not when you have high-profile voices like Stephen A. Smith dragging the league on national television. This is the kind of story that sticks, because it cuts to the very thing sports are supposed to guarantee: fairness. People watch sports for drama, yes, but authentic drama. The kind that's earned on the court, not engineered in a conference room. The beauty of sports is that you don't know what's going to happen. But when you start rigging for parity, when you pull strings to keep outcomes close, when you mute star power for the sake of balance, that's not sport. That's theater. And fans know the difference. The worst part? It disrespects the players. Every athlete who steps on that court is risking their body and pouring their soul into the game. They don't deserve to have their efforts manipulated from the sidelines. And for Caitlin Clark, who's been carrying herself with composure, professionalism, and grace through all of this, it's disgraceful. She didn't complain. She didn't call anyone out. She didn't stop giving 100%. She played through it. She performed through it. And in doing so, she showed fans and the world exactly why she was the future of the league. The league, however, tried to dim that future. And now they're paying for it. Because here's the truth. This isn't just about Caitlin. It's about how the league views its players, how it treats its officials, how it communicates with its fans, and how it handles power when it's threatened by change. Caitlin Clark wasn't a problem. She was a shift, a cultural moment, a player who forced the league to evolve, to rise, to grow faster than it was comfortable with. And instead of welcoming that evolution, the leadership reportedly tried to slow it down, equalize it, dilute it. That strategy didn't just backfire. It blew a hole through the league's integrity. And now they've got choices to make. Real choices. Do they clean house? Do they fire the officials who went along with the manipulation? Do they hold leadership accountable? Maybe even asking Engelbert to step aside? Do they release the full findings of their investigation and rebuild from scratch? Or do they double down on silence and spin, hoping this fades before the sponsors get nervous? Let's be clear, the sponsors are watching closely because no company wants to associate with a product under federal scrutiny. No brand wants to be tied to manipulated outcomes. And if sponsors start to pull back, it won't just hurt the bottom line. It'll undermine the league's stability at a time when it needs to be growing. This is why transparency isn't optional. It's the only path forward. The league has to face this with clarity, with honesty, with decisive action, because the longer they wait, the deeper the damage goes. The fans won't forget. The players won't forget. And Caitlin Clark's name is already etched into the timeline of this controversy, whether she wanted it or not. But maybe that's fitting, because in a season riddled with secrets, she was the only constant. She never flinched, never played the politics, never let the hits throw her off her game. She did what every great athlete does. She showed up, even when the league around her allegedly worked against her. She never broke focus. And now, she's more than just a breakout rookie. She's the symbol of this league's reckoning, the measuring stick for how leadership responds to adversity, and the proof that no amount of behind-the-scenes manipulation can suppress real talent. So where does this go next? That depends on the WNBA. Do they try to save face? Or do they finally tell the truth? Because one thing is certain, the story isn't going away. More testimonies will surface. More people will speak. And the pressure to act will only grow stronger. This is the WNBA's defining moment. Not because of how badly things fell apart, but because of what they choose to do now. Will they protect the people who try to control the game? Or will they finally start protecting the game itself? Whatever they choose, we'll be here to break it all down. What makes this moment so sharp, so undeniably tense, is that everything the WNBA has worked toward now hangs in limbo. The growth, the fandom, the new wave of attention, all sparked by rising talent like Caitlin Clark, now risks being permanently overshadowed by the one thing a sports league can never afford: the loss of integrity. Let's be real. Once fans start doubting the legitimacy of what they're watching, it's a steep fall, because then every buzzer beater, every foul, every upset win suddenly comes with an asterisk. And that's exactly the danger here. This wasn't just one or two bad calls. This was a pattern, a system, an alleged strategy, encouraging officials to alter how the game flowed to protect a narrative rather than the game. When multiple referees step forward to say, "We were told to manage optics," that's not miscommunication. That's coordination. And what does managing optics really mean? In this case, allegedly making sure no team or player got too dominant. No blowouts. No big swings. No real dynasties forming too fast. And yes, that especially seemed to apply to Caitlin Clark, whose natural rise threatened to become the kind of tidal wave the league couldn't control. But here's where it all backfires. Trying to suppress that wave only made it stronger. The physical play against her, the missed fouls, the silence from officials. It didn't make her less appealing. It made her more of a phenomenon. People saw what was happening. They felt the imbalance. And instead of tuning out, they rallied around her. Because fans know when something's off. You can't gaslight a sports audience. They watch too closely. They notice patterns. And when one of the most high-profile players in the league is getting knocked to the floor with no whistle, they don't forget. Now, every missed call has a shadow behind it. Every replay is picked apart not just for whether the foul happened, but whether it was ignored on purpose. And once you're in that territory, it's nearly impossible to get back to neutral. That's the real cost of what's happening here. Not just a single scandal, not just a few resignations, but the erosion of trust. And without trust, the WNBA's momentum doesn't just stall, it reverses. And it didn't have to happen. That's the frustrating part. This could have been a golden age. The league had finally broken into the mainstream conversation. National coverage, primetime games, growing audiences, it was all right there. And Clark? She wasn't just the face of it. She was the engine driving it. She gave fans someone to root for. She made people care. And the league, allegedly, tried to mute her impact for the sake of balance. Balance sounds good until you realize it's just a softer word for control. And in this case, it may have been control at the expense of fairness, of authenticity, of the sport itself. Because once you allow backroom influence to shape outcomes on the court, you're not running a league. You're running a storyline. And fans don't show up for scripted drama. They show up for raw competition. That's why the scandal cuts so deep. The stakes weren't just about one player or one season. They were about what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. One that lets stars rise and lets the game speak for itself. Or one that edits, adjusts, and steers the action to protect its image. The referees who came forward clearly chose the former, and their courage blew the lid off everything. Let's not gloss over how rare that is. Officials don't usually speak out. They work behind the scenes, often in silence. For multiple referees to come forward with similar stories, that tells you this wasn't a one-off directive. This was a systemic issue, a directive baked in, and the fallout is just beginning. Sponsors, reportedly monitoring the situation closely, are not in this for the drama. They're in it for the clean association, for the feel-good stories, for the visibility. If this scandal keeps growing, and especially if legal consequences become real, they'll start pulling out. Quietly, strategically. And when they go, the money goes with them. You can't brand your way around that. And Cathy Engelbert, her position as commissioner is looking more fragile by the day. Her silence isn't protecting the league, it's hurting it. Leadership means accountability, especially when things go sideways. And so far, we've seen no meaningful response from her office. No transparency, no reassurance, just silence. And in a moment like this, silence isn't neutral, it's damning. The fans deserve answers. The players deserve protection. And the game deserves better than this kind of behind-the-scenes manipulation. Clark's ability to maintain her professionalism through all of it is part of what makes this story so compelling. She hasn't used the media. She hasn't played victim. She just keeps playing, keeps showing up, keeps winning over fans, not with drama, but with discipline. She's the one person who didn't flinch while the league around her scrambled to protect its image. And in doing so, she's become more than a rookie star. She's become the league's conscience. The question is whether the league is willing to listen. Because if they don't, if they continue ignoring the warning signs, downplaying the testimonies, and stonewalling transparency, they're not just risking another controversy. They're risking their future. This is the line in the sand. Clean up the house, own the mistakes, and rebuild trust, or keep pretending and let everything crumble under the weight of silence and scandal. Either way, we'll be watching. If you want to stay locked in as this story continues to develop, make sure to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you think this is just the tip of the iceberg, and subscribe. Because what's coming next could change everything.